Yay! Yay, Kaylee's here.
Good morning. Why don't you start right now? Yeah. We have a special event today that Deb's going to talk a little bit more about. Welcome to First Parish.
Good morning. Good evening. That work? Yep. Okay, just quickly, we hope that all of you will join us following the service when we have a special little bit of lunch and party and slideshow. We're celebrating Twinks today and her many years of giving to First Parish. And there will be a party this afternoon. Everybody is invited. Come and share. If you brought a letter, a sealed letter to write to Twinks, there's a bag right up here to leave it. We'll be giving those to her later. And if you forgot to bring a letter, there's a table in the back corner where the kids made cards that you could write on. So if you, in the parish room, sorry, back corner of the parish room. So please join us this afternoon for a party and enjoy.
Should also say, if you brought an envelope and you didn't put it in there and you put it in one of the baskets, please take it out of the basket, because that's for something else, okay? I would like to invite Tavia forward at this time. Yeah? Oh, you want, okay, here, wait. Sorry, we got all these logistics things going on this morning.
Good morning, I'm Tavia Osla, and I'm here representing the Stewardship Committee, and my co-chair is sitting right back there, Susan Smith. I'm here this morning to let you all know that the month of February is Stewardship Month. And I think we're a little behind the eight ball because we've had bad weather, we've had a Sunday off, when church was closed. We've had lots of great activities, the Gala Ball, and we've also had some changes here at church that have left people concerned and questioning. And the other is, I don't know how anybody can think straight with what's going on in this country. So there's a lot of reasons why stewardship is a little slow this year. What I would ask you to consider, last year we ended up raising almost $500,000, and this year we're only being asked to raise $520,000 for next year, which is not a big jump when you think of how much everything is going up in the country. We don't have to buy eggs. We don't have to buy eggs here, but we do have to. Unless we want to throw them at somebody. But maybe that's not a bad idea. We do have rising costs in utilities and all sorts of things. So I would ask you to, I would ask you to consider either going to one of the remaining gatherings. There are 3 more gatherings this week, actually 4. There's one here at church next Sunday, so that if you can't get to others that are in people's homes, you can get to the one that's here. And if not, if you really can't get to a gathering, then would you stop by the stewardship desk today and pick up a pledge card? And that way we won't have to mail to you, and you will have your pledge card. The Finance Committee is hoping to work on the budget in March, so I would ask you again, please turn in your pledge as soon as you can, and know that the money that this church uses is coming from all of us. So we have one new project this year which should make people very happy. When the Wampanoag people were here, they asked us if we would become a part of supporting their school, which is a Montessori style school and is primarily working hard at teaching young children their language. And as you know, as Indian people across the country were placed in those horrible schools, they were not allowed to speak their language. So once again, they're trying to reinstitute their language. The church has committed, excuse me, $10,000 in the budget for that purpose. So it's a great social justice commitment that we've made this year. And I'm sure there are other dreams that we have that we would like to make a reality. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to make a commitment with our pledge. So to quote Reverend Karen, a religious person is a grateful person, and a grateful person is a generous person. Thank you.
I invite you to take a deep breath in with me now. And let us begin together in worship.
Good morning. I wanted to say a few words about this piece you're about to hear. The piece is called Sisi Ni Moja, and it means we are one. This was commissioned for the Michigan State University Children and Youth Choirs by their director. And their director writes, I wanted to create an uplifting, hopeful song that had a modern popular style vibe and dealt with the choir's theme of unity and oneness. Since the piece was intended to represent all people and all cultures, I sought to write a text that would reflect just that. I was teaching high school at the time, and a student in one of my choirs was from Kenya. I asked her to assist me with a Swahili phrase that I could combine with the new original text, which would translate specifically to "We are one." Though not a common Swahili phrase, we came up with Sisi ni moja, pronounced, and it's a there's the heya, you're going to hear the choir also sing heya, which is a non-word with no literal meaning. It doesn't represent any specific culture. It is given more in an instrumental way. So this is Sisi ni moja, We Are One, written by Jacob Narverud.
We are
Good morning. A number of years ago, I heard this great story on NPR, and it's just stuck with me for a while. It was about this guy whose name was Brett, and he went to Purdue University. And while he was there, he decided that he was going to start doling out like compliments to people. So he chose this busy kind of walkway at Purdue, and he made this sign that said free compliments, so people didn't think he was completely a whack job, right? And he stood there, and as people went back and forth to class and stuff, he'd yell out, "Oh, I love that color yellow. That's so great. Those glasses are fabulous. I love that. Good choice in fruit." People would walk by, and sometimes they'd be like, "Thanks." You know, other times they'd be like, "You just made my day," right? A few other people were like, most of the time, though, they had this expression, at least of a smile. And he told his friend Cameron, and his friend Cameron was like, "Well, I want to do that." So the two of them, for an entire year, every Wednesday, whether it was raining or sleeting or snowing, were out there doling out compliments to everybody as they walked by. And it turns out that after a while, people would like come back after class, like make their way all the way around buildings to come back to get another compliment. And he said it just was this awesome, fulfilling thing that happened. He said people kept thinking, is this like a sociology experiment, or, are they hazing for a fraternity or something like that? But the more he did it, the more he met new people who just kept coming up to him, and the more people joined them every Wednesday to dole out compliments. At the end of the interview, he says that he wanted to build bridges and build roads when he was done with college, but he learned a life-changing event had happened for him. He realized that in what he was doing, he could bring positivity to the world just by one person of changing a culture. And he said, "I learned this lifelong lesson that is more fulfilling to me probably than anything else that will come along." And that line about so fulfilling to me of anything else that could come along has been like stuck in here. Because we live in a world that is not that gentle right now. It's not tender, it's not kind, it's not usually like open to compliments. Am I right? Yeah. I do think it's one of the reasons we come to church. We do come, I think, to be reminded about those things that actually make your life feel fulfilled and whole, that make you feel like you matter in the world and other people matter in the world. How many times have any of you had like one of those really terrible days, and you can remember somebody saying something to you and you were like, "Oh, it's not so bad anymore"? Yeah? Yes. Okay. If anything I wish for you is for us to remind each other of the power that we have to make somebody else get out of that really terrible space. So before we sing our first hymn, my dear friends, please turn to your pew mate and give them some kind of compliment. I love you.
Okay, just one compliment each. We're going to sing our opening song now. All you need is love. You can rise in body or spirit. Yes, choir, you can rise too. This has some funky timing. We're going to see what happens here. Okay.
In 7. Yes.
Exactly. So here's how it goes. You never knew this. Love, love, love. And then it goes. Love, love, love. And then it goes. Da, da, love, love, love. That's the same thing with the verses. At least that's how they wrote it. Here we go. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can say that can't be sung. There's nothing you can say that can't be It's easy. There's nothing you can make that can't be made. There's no one you can say that can't be saved. Nothing you can do is going to learn and take time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. There's nothing you can know that isn't known. Nothing you can see that isn't shown. Nowhere you can be that isn't there that isn't me. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. All you need is love. Everybody. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. 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 She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah,
We light our chalice this hour. We gather as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Would you please join with me in reciting our affirmation words? Guess what? We believe in love. Sorry. We believe in truth. The quest for truth is a sacrament. We believe in helping others. And service is our prayer. We believe in the sacredness of life. To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is a time in our service where we offer our heartfelt gratitude to organizations in our community that share our values and do excellent work out in the larger world. This morning's offering is a split plate with PFLAG, which provides support, advocacy, and education to parents, families, friends, allies, and members of the LGBTQ+ community. This organization was nominated by our Welcoming Congregation LGBTQ Committee. Let us remember that the religious person is the grateful person. The grateful person is the generous person. We'll now take the offering mindfully and gratefully. I invite you to join with me in the spirit of prayer and meditation, followed by some shared silence. Please get yourself comfortable in your seat. Put your feet firmly on the ground. And take a deep breath in with me. Let us turn inward together. Share with you this piece by Reverend Gretchen Haley. For this one moment, know only that you are loved. that you're safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here, here among us, here upon this earth, in your body. However tired or broken your heart may be, whatever fear, disappointment, anger you carry, for this hour, know you are not alone. Feel the presence of others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you. Discovering together the way our voices rise and fall together in harmony, in hope. Claim here a resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, to live with joy and gratitude and praise as a form of resistance. May the silence we have shared continue to hold and heal us all. Amen. I have to be honest. At first, it made me kind of uncomfortable. I'm not quite sure that's it. Maybe it's better to say I didn't know what to do with it. When I was at First Unitarian in Rochester, New York, we had a growing deaf ministry on Saturday night because we had a rock and roll band as part of the service. And if you're deaf, right, you can feel it. You can feel the music. There was always an interpreter, and we hired deaf coordinators. Rupert, who was deaf, and his wife, Brooke, who was hearing. It was probably our biggest kind of outreach of inclusion in Rochester and with that community, because Rochester actually has the highest percentage of folks who are deaf under the age of 65, mostly because the Rochester Institute of Technology has within it a college of the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. So each week, I'd meet with Rupert and Brooke to learn more about the deaf culture and work on my sign language, which I pretty much stunk at, right? Okay, so we'd meet at a cafe, and I wasn't allowed to talk unless I absolutely had to. And we'd chat and laugh, and they'd tell stories, and I could get about half of it. And then afterwards, I was like, what were you talking about? But I did feel blessed. I got to spend time with them, learning something that was completely foreign to me and widening kind of my circle of concern, of care and love. So after one of those lessons, I was feeling like so filled up, you know, like I like that piece about gratitude that you just feel like, oh, I feel so fabulous. And I turned and I did what I do, right? I gave Rupert a hug. And, but it was kind of like one of those dinky hugs. We're all pretty good at those dinky hugs. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where you like lean over and you kind of pat somebody on the back, like, right? Okay, anyway, I got done with the hug and Rupert pulls back and he does this to me. And then he goes like this. Now I had to ask Kaeza to come and help me with this. She's my guinea pig. He pulls back after doing this, and he goes, full body hug. Even my husband doesn't give me that. You gotta work on it, dude, okay? Okay, anyway, I was like, what the heck was that, right? And we're done hugging, and I felt strangely uncomfortable and not uncomfortable because, you know, like you don't usually hug people that way. But it was this deep kind of odd connective hug. And it got me in touch with that deep longing that I think we all have to be kind of connected to people in a way that we normally don't kind of walk into. And when I asked Brooke and Rupert to share with me what was behind that kind of hug within the deaf culture, Rupert emailed me and he said, since deaf people share more personal information with people more quickly, it then feels wrong to shake someone's hand. There are studies that show how much more invested the person is in any kind of relationship after any kind of physical contact. And the more contact there is, the more the person becomes a human being to the other one. Then Brooke added to what Rupert had said. Now remember, she's hearing. And she said, I do not think that deaf people in general have less opportunity for meaningful interactions with people. So when they have the opportunity to really get to know and exchange like personal information, meaningful information, they want to follow it up with something like a full body hug to you. An act that says, hey, we're both human. We're not alone. We're in this together. Now that line gets at that heart, actually, of what I'm after today. Tell me you don't long for more moments when you are assured that we are all in this together, when you know you're not alone in the world, which can come clearly into view in those moments of connection. All of this got me thinking about humans longing for love moments, which got me thinking about two things. The first is this statistic that just kind of blows my mind. And I may have shared this with you, but I could share this with you every single frickin' week. I do not remember who the social scientist was that did this, but it's so important. Turns out 40 years ago, they asked people, how many people do you have in your life that are significant to you, that you can be vulnerable with, that they know your heart, they know kind of your motivations, they hold pieces of you within them? How many people? 40 years ago, people said the average was 6. They did it not that long ago, about 7, 8 years ago, before the pandemic. You know what the average answer was? The average, 1.5 people. Now, I want you to think about that because that was before the pandemic, right? I bet if they did it now, it would be even less. What also is astounding to me about all of that is you got to remember that there are a lot of people, in order to get 1.5 as the average, there's a lot of people who said this, right? 0. This other piece I want to share with you was this quote I came upon recently that said, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's isolation. The opposite of love is not hate, it's isolation. Now, before that, I had found that quote where people say the opposite of love is indifference. But it seems to me indifference is isolation, just in a different form in and of itself. Anyway, I've been thinking about all of this, and I came across this book by this writer and researcher named Barbara Fredrickson, who wrote this wonderful book called Love 2.0, How Our Supreme Emotions Affect Everything We Feel and Think, Do, and Become. Now, Fredrickson's book reveals a new way of thinking about love that I found fascinating. Simply put, she wants us to love more. And she claims that part of the reason we don't love more is due to the way that we think about love. The problem, according to her, is we make both love too small and too big at the same time. In other words, we have an operating system with love that's like 1.0, like those original iPhones, okay? That's how lame we are. Our love 1.0 is too small in the sense that we limit love to special relationships, to our family or to a partner or to our friends. That's how small it is. For most of us, love is something that is thought of as this kind of like magical, all-encompassing feeling that kind of washes over you, that makes us feel like we are that one special person to that other one special person. But she argues that love is not about being the most special person in the world to someone or relegated to a select few. Instead, love is simply any moment when we are given the gift of being pulled out of our isolation into connection with someone else. Let me say that again. Love is simply any moment where we are given the gift of being pulled out of our own isolation into connection with someone else. Now, here's where in her book she brings in all this brain research and biochemistry and DNA stuff and cell development, which is fascinating, except it doesn't go along with this sermon. So I'm going to go to the end of what her conclusion is with everything. She wants us to see love as micro moments of connection that thereby make love more accessible and manageable, enabling us to love more often. She wants us to upgrade our love to 2.0. Okay? Now, after reading her work, I realized she radicalized love for me in a strange way. I don't really think now that our deepest longing is to have this magical feeling of love, resulting in feeling like we have that one special person that we're connected with, that is unconditional or constant or familial. No, now I believe that we are longing for something way simpler that keeps us not isolated and alone. And to use Brooke's words, who was talking about that hug within the deaf culture, which, if you remember, she said, that hug is to remember we are both human, we are not alone, and we are in this together. And sure, that happens with special people in our lives after years of building trust and intimacy, but it can also happen at moments with strangers through simple acts of compassion and connection. Love is something we can give any time. See, when I put Fredrickson's book down, a couple things occurred to me. One is, it's not that hard, really, to make other people feel loved. It's not really. And then the other thing, which you guys are going to think I'm completely crazy, but the thing that came in my head is that Nike swooshing line from Just Do It. Just do it. I know it's silly, but it's what came in. So this morning, though, I have two lessons, and I means to tease out kind of living into Fredrickson's 2.0 loving, okay? The first is I want to start with this researcher, John Gottman, who started at the University of Washington. It was called the Love Lab. He still has this going. Now, Gottman started this Love Lab in order to analyze what made couples stay together. So what they did is they had all these couples come into a room, kind of like, you know, when you are in a police department. Well, I've never had this happen to me, but when you're in a police department, right, and they're talking to a witness, and then they have that, you know, it might make any sense, you know, the glass, and you're watching. Okay, so they had couples in, and they were watching what they were going to do, and they had hundreds of people come in as couples. They thought what was going to happen is couples were going to interact with each other, and they'd have all these moments of vulnerable kind of exchanges with each other, that they'd be like sharing intimate details of hopes and dreams and fears with each other. And then they realized at the end, all people did was chit-chat the entire time. They talked about things like the news, and they talked about, hey, do you want milk or orange juice for breakfast? And by the way, can you help out John this week because his math homework's so hard, and I'm not able to help him with that. And basically like family update stuff, just chit-chat. So at first, the researchers were a little disappointed. They were like, what the heck, man? So they go back and they watch the videotape, and then they think about it, and they watch it again, and they started noticing something. Gottman ended up concluding that what ultimately made a couple last was when the two of them saw exchanges not as communication between the two of them, but actually as moments to connect with one another. Gottman called these kind of connective moments, he called them bids. The couples that lasted offered bids to each other. In other words, did the couple's communication make them turn towards each other, or did it make them turn against each other and then isolate from one another? I'm going to give you some examples. So a wife might say to her wife, right, do you want some coffee? And her wife might say, yes, dear, I'd love some. That's a what? A bid, right? Okay, but she could also answer this way. She could have her nose in the paper and she could say, yeah, well, I'll take some coffee as long as you don't act like you're being my servant. Is that a bid? No. Okay, a wife might say, what do you think of this dress? And a husband could say, it's lovely, I love that color on you. That's a bid, right? Or a husband could say something like, it looks fine, but, you know, we got to get going. Or they could say, yeah, it looks good on you, but, you know, if you wanted a compliment, you could have just asked for it. That is not a bid, is it? No. I should add that every now and then when I get a little snarky, Scott will look at me and go, that was not a bid, honey. Okay, so in the end, Gottman found that bids almost always, this is crazy, is a perfect marker of whether or not a couple stays together. 90 92% of the fact. If couples, for the most part, turn towards each other in connection, and they followed people for years and years, but for sure, for 6 to 10 years, if they had enough bids, they would stay together. And some of the time, they gave a few bids, but most of the time, they were always turning towards each other. So in the end, Gottman's idea gets to Fredrickson's idea of micro moments of connection. The bids really are small things you can offer a spouse, but in truth, it seems to me, we can offer bids to anyone. It need not be contained to a spouse or a partner or a child. It could be offered in the workplace to a coworker. It could be offered to a fellow pewmate. It could be offered to your children or your neighbor or any friend, right? Anytime people are in need of that connection, anytime you offer a bid. And I do think if we pay attention, actually, people do this to us all the time. Reaching out, offering us those like little micro moments of love and connection, and in turn, offering bids to others isn't that hard to do either. In fact, it's a little thing to do, a small effort with a really big consequence of ultimately what keeps us and others from feeling lonely and isolated. So offer bids to stranger and friends and upgrade to love 2.0. Okay, you got it? Good. Okay, now, second thing I want to share with you is there is this fabulous video on TED TV that I watched years ago, and I love this young woman. Her name is Hannah Beekner, and she tells the story, actually, of being in college, and she's a millennial, right? She tells this story that her parents refused to call her or email her or text her. They refused to do it. The only thing that she communicated with her parents was through letters. Her mother would send her letters in the mail. She said she was the only kid who stood next to that rack of, like all your mail coming in, and was like, oh, come on, Mom, please, 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 right? So she got in the habit of sending letters back to her mother all the time. And she realized that she's probably the only one who has like a physical acknowledgement of love from her mother, because everybody else has that digital piece that, you're swiping through, your phone's not working, and you get rid of the text. Am I right? So when she graduates from college, though, she moves to New York City, and she's a little, lost. She doesn't really know how to connect with people. So she did what she knows how to do. She started writing love letters to strangers. And she'd write these letters, and she'd go to the library, and she'd leave them in books. She worked at the UN, actually, for a while, and she left them on her way on the bus, next to her. She would put them in between books when she worked at the UN, too. And then one night, she goes to bed. I love this. And she promises over the internet to anybody around the world, anyone who needs a love letter, that if they wanted one or needed one, she would write them a handwritten letter. She goes to bed, wakes up the next morning, and has so many emails, she has absolutely no idea where to start. Then, a little while later, she started an organization called The World Needs More Love Letters. And she continues on with this practice. In fact, every month, they post strangers to write a love letter to. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've probably sent out 90 love letters to strangers. It's become my spiritual practice, and I absolutely love doing it. It is so magical in a really weird way. I don't know how else to explain it. But her practice actually influenced so many other people about what they did in their life. They give a great example of this woman whose husband came back from Afghanistan and they were having a hard time figuring out how to communicate with each other. So she just started writing love letters to him and putting them all over the place, like in the toaster before it, was to go. Another young woman was on the campus in Dubuque, Iowa, and she was feeling lonely and isolated, so she picked up this practice herself. She'd go to class, she'd leave some next to the person next to her, she'd put them, all throughout her dorm room. And then one day, she walks out of her dorm room, and there are love letters all attached to the trees around her, on the lawn, and stuffed in various places. Here's the thing. Hannah, in the midst of her isolation and loneliness, did what she knew. She created little acts of love and connection and surrounded herself then with love. Her letters are clear, and they're not really schmaltzy or romantic at all. They are letters of reminding people that they are of worth just for being them, that they matter, that they're a child of the universe. She is offering what? Little micro moments of love. She is working with the Love 2.0 operating system. We are, whether we want to admit it or not, are a very lonely and isolated species. We are getting more and more so because of those darn things that we do this with all the time. Am I right? Yes. Sometimes we feel more that way than we do with others, but all the time we have ways not to feel lonely and isolated. If anything, I want you to walk away with this today. I want you to remember that love not be too small, that it is only relegated to your family or one person. I want you to remember that the opposite of love is not hate, but it's isolation. Then friends, it doesn't take that much, really. It's just a daily practice to give and receive love. Offer yourself to another. Love is gained, given, and received in small acts, drops in the bucket, kind of like micro moments that can fill us and fulfill us. Widen your circle through love. Connect to another out of loneliness and just do it. Now, I can say all of that, and I know sometimes that it's hard to kind of jumpstart something without encouragement. I know you need to receive before you can give. So I asked, there are about 20 people in this church who wrote all of you love letters. They wrote you words of love and connection. Yesterday, when I got back in, my entire box in my office was overflowing with love letters for all of you. They were literally pouring out. You have fellow parishioners who are reminding you that you are of worth. You're a gift to the world. They are written with care. Some are quite humorous, some are pretty straightforward, but I want you to hold them and have them. I want you, when you are feeling like just in despair and you're not connected to anything, I want you to pull out that letter and open it up and reread it and make that sucker dog-eared and torn, okay? And when you are ready, I want you to start some daily spiritual practice, some practice of bids or micro moments of connection that is distinctly yours. We all have a little bit of a superpower within us, I think, that is often kind of dormant, but we can indeed pull it out and use it in service to others and in service to love, to not only make people feel less isolated, but yourself as well. May it be so. Amen. Okay, sorry. There are baskets right here, please take a love letter and pass them back, okay? And you guys have one too. Here we go.
We're going to sing a closing song together. And so please rise in body or spirit and join us in, you can take your teal hymnal and turn to 1014. Instead of standing on the side of love, which has been recognized as ableist kind of language, the composer rewrote this to answering the call of love. So on the third page when that starts, that's what we will all be singing, answering the call of love.
And
stands for the closing words? Whatever we could do or a dream we could do, let us begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. May we ever be bold in our living and in our loving. Can I hear an amen? Amen. All right, good friends. We got to wait for the choir to move their chairs out of here. So just do some chit chat.